Most people don't like this idea that you have to play an instrument to cast spells, and they like the effects of the bard in terms of debilitating its opponent. So the Mentalist class is the answer to that. We're not going to use an instrument, we're going to use our mind. Today on RPG Boons. So today on RPG Boons, we're going to show you the Mentalist class. It's found for free at Don Franco 3 Games in the RPG Boons tab. So feel free to go there, pick it up, play it, let me know what you think. We've tested it here, it works pretty well. And for today's builds, we're going to go all the way up to 10th level, really showing the kind of flavors you can add to the Mentalist class depending on the type of character you want to play. Shadowdark is notorious for having these little small descriptors of monsters, not only monsters, but also like classes. And so here it is, a Mentalist class, a know-it-all, and a master distractor in combat. Mentalists will always tip the balance of fate in their favor. This Mentalist class is going to be able to use all weapons except for very heavy two-handed melee weapons, essentially anything that has the close range property, and uses all armors except plate and shields it can use, but no plate just because they also tend to be a little more nimble, and of course we don't want to overpower these characters. And we're going to use 1d6 for hit points, kind of the middle dice of giving out hit points because they have the ability to be a little bit more of a warrior class or just be more of a kind of a magic user using that mind. Now, first things first, the one thing that the bards are known for is, causing distraction or debilitating the opponents by imposing a die penalty to their roll or giving them disadvantage. And Psionic warfare is the answer to that. So basically the Mentalist class, their key feature, something that can constantly do, is Psionic warfare, which essentially will impose disadvantage on any of the opponents or targets' actions, reactions, anything it's rolling, it will have disadvantage on. This psionic warfare comes in the form of mental reverberating sounds or words. It's really up to you, but it's going to be very powerful, very distracting, and causing disadvantage. Essentially, all you do is make a wisdom check roll, so you know that wisdom is a very important feature of the Mentalist. You do a wisdom check roll against your opponent's wisdom stat. If you succeed, they have disadvantage on their rolls until the start of your next turn. So the psionic warfare can be used as a focus, which means you can choose to continue to maintain it. And so therefore just do the reroll and see if you can sustain that disadvantage on that opponent. And it's single targeting just one person. Now, another key feature of the Mentalist class is whether or not you're going to be a jack of all trades, which means you're going to have advantage on intelligence rolls, or you're going to be beguiling, charming, quick-witted, and you're going to have advantage on your charisma. Now, depending on which of these you choose, you're going to either have intelligence as your spell casting, or you're going to have charisma as your spell casting. And so our very first class, we're going to choose beguiling, just because we want this character to be a little bit of a charmer. This next class build is also going to be a warrior type class. What we're looking at here is character advancement in Shadowdark, 1 through 10. You gain 5 different talents during that time period. In addition, for the Mentalist class, you're always going to start with at least one of the Spellblade features. We'll talk about that in a second. And we're going to play a human, and so the human also gets a +1 talent. So basically in total, we're going to have 7 different lores that we can choose from in the Spellblade feature, and we're going to add +1 to melee and spells on the character sheet as well. So we're going to show you a character sheet at the very end. First things first, what is the Spellblade? So the Spellblade is basically your ability to not only wield a weapon, but also your ability to cast spells. And to start, you're going to choose one weapon that does 1d4 damage or less, and you're going to gain +1 damage to that weapon, really signifying your ability to be very precise with attack, allowing you to do more damage. In addition, you're also going to have one spell from either the wizard class or the priest class. In this case, I wrote cleric, but it's a priest. And you're going to be able to cast that one spell. The other important feature about this Spellblade is that you gain them automatically, no need to roll, at 3, 6, and 9. So at the end of the day, you do gain either more weapon mastery or you gain more spells as you go up the levels. In total, you're going to get 4 different Spellblade features that you get to choose from, either spell or weapons, or the amount of damage bonus you're going to get, and it really allows you to flavor the Mentalist class. In the very first build of the Mentalist class, we're going to choose to try to make a warrior type Mentalist. And what we're going to do is we're going to say we got 2 tenets of Arcana, and then the other ones we used for tenets of Warlord. Remember, there's 7 total we were going to get, and we're going to divvy up this way to really try to flavor into a warrior type class. Somebody that is more of a standalone fighter can survive on its own. So basically we're going to get Weapon Master Lore 2, 3, and we're also going to get that +3 to the attack damage. The cool part about the Mentalist class, it's its versatility, or at least the ability of the Mentalist to really adapt and change himself. So you can see here that as long as you have a long period of rest or long period or downtime, you are able to basically reshift these different tenets in any way that you want, showing that the flexibility of the Mentalist class. And so we're looking at here is just all the weapons from the core on the left and the expanded weapon list on the right, really marking off in red line what we can no longer use because we can only use weapons that are not two-handed, because we can't use weapons that are two-handed in the melee range or the close range as it lists here. For this warrior, we're going to choose a scimitar and a whip, the expanded list of weapons. In addition, these are finesse weapons, which means we're going to put a little bit more points into dexterity. And again, we're going to do +3 damage to all those weapons because those we're maxing out our tenets of Warlord. In addition, to really stick to that kind of lone wolf warrior type, we're going to choose Shield of Faith. Remember, we got 2 tenets in the Arcana and Magic Missile. So now you can imagine whenever you're about to take an attack, as part of your roleplay, you can say you mentally create a force shield around you, giving you that bonus to armor class. In addition, you have that Magic Missile that you can use for long range. And when we're putting it all together right here, you can see that we have a 13 dexterity that's going to give us our +1. We have bonus to the charisma rolls and wisdom, key component of the psychic warfare, so we have to keep that very high. There's our scimitar, there's our whip, all the applicable bonuses, +3 to those damages. And on the right, psychic warfare, imposing disadvantage on that one target, beguiling, spell charisma, +4 to those rolls, shield of faith, magic missile. And so this is a really good lone wolf style warrior, really more of a melee character in the Mentalist class build. For Mentalist class build number 2, we're going to put 4 into the tenets of Arcana, and we're going to do 3 for the tenets of Warlords, basically giving us 2 weapons, the 1d4, the 1d6, and we're going to add +1 damage to those weapons that we choose. But then we're going to be able to choose 4 different spells on top of that, 2 first levels, 1 second, and 1 third. In this case, tier being identical to level. So in this case, because we care a little bit less about the weapons, we're going to choose dagger, we're going to choose short sword, and that's going to get the +1 damage. And because we're a healer and we want to be a little bit more of a support class, we're going to choose cure wounds and protection from evil from tier 1 spell list. Tier 2, we're going to choose mirror image, really to kind of protect ourselves from being struck. However, a better choice might be something like bless. And for that tier 3 spell, we're going to pick mass cure, so we can basically help out our entire party. When we put it all together, 10th level character, you can see we put the appropriate bonuses where we need for the weapons at +1 to those damages. We increased our intelligence so we can have the bonuses there for our checks. And of course, we kept wisdom at 16 so we can use that really Psionic warfare effectively. And on the right, we can see cure wounds, protection from evil, mirror image, and mass cure, really creating that healer style, a Mentalist class build, the supporter. But now let's move on to our very final and 3rd build. We're going to stick with the same numbers of tenets of Arcana and Warlord, so we're going to still just have that 1d4, 1d6 weapon with the +1 damage. But we're going to switch up those spells. We're really going to focus on creating a more of a Psion, a mental attacking character. So we're looking at here again, same weapons. We're not going to really mess with this at all. But when it comes to those spells, the flavoring, we want to have a psychic kind of attacker, a Psion. We're going to choose Charm Person and Sleep. So now you can imagine you mentally attack somebody, make them fall asleep. Or you can do a charm in case you're trying to get through somebody and don't want to really physically harm them.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
And going on with that psychic type of attacker, we're going to use Detect Thoughts. So now you can, read somebody's mind. And the final thing we're going to be able to do is command, tell somebody, get, down, run.
Come here, kneel.
And when we put it all together, here's the character sheet. We made the character beguiling, more of a charisma type of a character. So now we have advantage on those charisma rolls. You still have that 16 for wisdom, +3 to that psionic warfare. And remember, we can get those bonuses also in that talent. So maybe our psionic warfare roll could be 1 to 2 points higher. And then we have our spells, charisma casting, charm person, sleep, detect thoughts, and command. So I think you can see you can take the Mentalist class, really have 3 different types of flavors: a warrior, a healer, a Psion, really creating and showing that versatility of the Mentalist class, something that a bard has, but now you don't have to have that funky little instrument to do it. The final thing I want to talk about is how, besides Shadowdark, where else can we play this character? And you basically can play him at any OSR games. Now, if you haven't seen my video, I've compared a lot of OSR games, showing that the differences are not that huge. And we have a leveling system here. I would recommend just using Cleric XP leveling. Still roll on this talent list as you gain those levels. And if you're pushing between level 11 and 20, just stack, right? Let's go down that tenets again. You have to get it in order. So now you have, by the time you're reaching, let's say 3rd level, you have 4 first level spells and that 2nd level and that 3rd. And as you continue to go down, you can add the 3rd level and the 2nd level and the 3rd level spell. And of course, any system that has 21 plus for leveling is really just a prestige style of playing, unless you happen to have some type of like god mode, demigod, where your character can actually become divine and very powerful. Yeah, I just wanted to show you the Mentalist class. Download it. It's free. It's at Don Franco 3 Games underneath the RPG Boons tab. Go over there, get it, play it in your game. Of course, get permission from your DM. If you have any complaints and comments, please leave comments about the character class. I've tested it a few times. I think it works just fine. I'm Don Franco 3. This is RPG Boons, where we talk about everything RPG and how everything is RP. If you like the cut of my gibberish, hit the buttons. You know what to do. Leave a comment. I'll get back to you. Until next time.
Yeah.